Hi guys, it's me, Julie from the Earth and Fire Pottery Studio here. Today I'm going to show you a video on trimming. So we threw those little small ice cream bowls or salsa bowls, or you could use it for cereal or whatever. But what we want to do is now we have our bowl that we threw. If your bowl, the rim got a little funky or something, it's okay. Remember, it's handmade. But if it's leather hard, where it's gonna, you can hold it and handle it without, messing up its shape. That's leather hard. That's when you're gonna do your trimming. That's when you would attach a handle to a mug, or you could even do some cool kind of sgraffito stuff, which is like carving designs or anything into the side here. That's all going to be done at this leather hard stage. So what you're going to do to trim the bottom, where you see the bottom's kind of got all this from our wire, then when we sliced it off, and it might be a little uneven on the bottom. We've got a really thick foot here, so we can carve in and make like a little, kind of like a little pedestal for it to sit on, so that when it's sitting on the table, it has a nice shape, nice little foot, and then we can carve out a little foot ring. What you want to do before you flip it over, because we're going to flip it over and put it back on the wheel and spin the wheel slowly to carve off some of this. What you want to do before you get it on the wheel is just kind of evaluate how thick the bottom is. Sometimes it's really thick and we're going to want to take a lot off. Sometimes it's not that thick, like we might have made it a little bit thinner than we realized. And, you just want to know that before you start carving it away, so you know approximately how much you can take off. This one is not that thick, actually. It's actually a lot thinner than I thought it was going to be. So, I'll just take a little bit off, and we'll do a nice little foot ring here. Foot pedestal and a foot ring on the bottom. So I'm gonna flip you down so you can see the wheel and not me. The two tools you're gonna need are these two trim tools, the wide mouthed one and then the skinny one with two different sides here. And then the other thing you're gonna need is you're gonna need little wads, like 4 little golf ball size wads of fresh clay. And this is what's going to anchor that piece down to the wheel as you spin it around. So just 4 pieces, golf ball sized. Okay. So let's point you guys down so you can see what's going on. It's so beautiful here today in Connecticut. I really had a hard time coming in today to the studio, but I got a pretty view, so it's not that bad. All right, so you're not gonna use a bat. You're gonna put your bowl right on the metal wheel head. You wanna make sure that this rim is dry enough where it can support its weight and it's not gonna get bent out of shape or collapse or anything when you flip it upside down. So use these rings on here to kind of eyeball it, and you want to try to get it in the center as best you can, just by eyeballing it. And then you're going to turn your wheel on super slow. Really be careful that you don't put the pedal to the metal there, because this will fly off real fast and won't survive. So just really slowly turn that wheel on. And now what you're gonna do is you're gonna run your finger along the side of this pot, just so it's just touching. And what you're looking for is a nice even pressure against your finger as it spins around. If it's like, here, I'll make it off center. If it's like pulling away, see how it's pulling away, then stop, kind of move it over in the direction that it needs to go, Get it in the center and just keep trying until that piece is running smoothly and evenly against your finger. Don't move your finger to follow the piece. Keep your finger in one spot and figure out how to get that right in the center. I think I gotta move it a little tiny bit more. Let's try now. So that feels good. So now you have your golf ball size wads of clay here. With one hand, hold this in place, and you're gonna take these little wads, and I kind of make them into fat little coils. You're gonna take these, and you're not gonna press the clay into the side, into the wall of the bowl. You're gonna press it down into the bat. Or not the bat, the wheel head. We're not using a bat. So do the one side. Make sure you hold it in place with one hand as you anchor it in with your other hand. And then we'll do the front and the back. And then once you get these on here, look at my cool temporary tattoo my daughter gave me. Huh. Once you get this on here, you're gonna wanna check it again just to make sure that it didn't shift when you were putting these on here. So check it one more time with your finger. If it still feels like it's in the center, then you're ready to move on. If it shifted, take the time to pop it off and start again, because once you start carving, you're gonna notice if it was off center or not. So the first thing that I do is I just clean this bottom up nice and level. Clean all these little pieces that might be left over from the wire cutter when you separated it from the bat. So I'm gonna start with this wide mouth trim tool, and I'm starting with the pointed side right in the center. I'm going at a medium speed with my wheel, and I'm holding the tool with two hands. My elbows are anchored on my legs, both feet are on the ground, and I'm holding my tool with both hands and keeping that tool really still, and just slowly starting in the center, shaving some off, and slowly moving out towards like 3 o'clock. And like I said, the bottom of this piece was not as thick as I thought it was gonna be, so I'm not gonna carve too much out of this center. So as soon as this is level and flat, I'm gonna be done for now with this part. But if it was really thick, like you ended up with a really thick bottom piece, you could go ahead and spend some time just taking off a good amount, because that's gonna lighten up your piece. All that weight on the bottom can be taken away. And the other thing is you like really can kind of shape this. I could bring this really, actually that's what I'll do. Okay, so I'm gonna go one more time here, and then I'm gonna bring the width of the bottom in quite a bit, because right here is my thickest part, so I can play with that a lot. So I'm gonna kind of round in the bottom of this piece. So now I'm gonna still use this tool, this wide tool, and I'm gonna hold it right there where the bottom meets the wall. And I'm gonna just start carving away. Holding this tool as still as possible, you're letting the wheel do all the work. So I'm just kind of carving in, and then just slowly coming down to the side here to the wall. And back up, just keep rounding out bottom portion of this bowl. So that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to use this tool here, and I'm going to start with the squared off end. And what I like to do is I'm going to show you how to make that little foot on the bowl, but I don't want to just go ahead and dig in. I'm going to use the corner here just to mark where I'm starting, and that's going to also, so I just give it a light little touch just to mark where I'm going to make that foot. That way I can kind of sit back and take a look and say, all right, that looks good. Or if I wanted it to be taller, I could make a different starting point. So now that I have this, I'm going to kind of get that right angle of that tool in the groove that I just made. It's just going to sit right there, and I'm going to hold this straight up and down, and we're just carving away, making that nice little foot. And you guys, this piece, it was not ready when I came in, so I put it outside and the rim really hardened up, but the bottom is pretty soft still. So it's a little bit less dry than I usually like to trim at, but it's fine. Okay, so that's as far as I want to go in, but now I have this kind of funky little ridge here, so I'm just going to take this down, set it flat on that ridge, and then I'm just going to round that out, holding that tool really still, bringing it down, and then bring it back up, and back down again until you have that nice little rounded bottom. Some people love, love, love trimming. It's not my favorite thing to do, I'm not gonna lie, but it's gotta be done. I'll take a little bit more off there. And I think that's about all I can take off because I don't want to make these walls too thin. So now you have the foot, and now you're going to do the foot ring, which is in the center. So now I'm going to use the rounded end of this same tool, and you're just going to choose a spot. You know, you don't want it too close to the edge here, and you don't want it all the way in the center, but just choose a spot right here and just hold that tool in one place and let the wheel do the work. And then you can start moving in towards the center. Once you get some of that off, you can go ahead and use the flat end to clean it up a little bit. And then using the same end that has the right angles and the squared off tip, I always like to just make like a little beveled edge right here on my foot rings. Makes it look a little more finished. Get out of there. Okay, so any little crumbly bits, get off of there, because the next thing we're gonna do is, if you notice, and I'll stop, see, I mentioned it the other video, there's this grog that they add, and what it is it's ground up pieces of under fired pottery, and they add it to this clay, and that just gives this particular clay body some more structure and strength, which is great for beginners learning out because things don't fall as easily. But you can notice that when you trim, those little metal trim tools will kind of grab and pull at the grog in there and leave it kind of pitted looking. So I always take this wooden tool that has the rounded edge, and if it's, make sure it's clean, which mine is not. Just clean it off a little bit. And you can just sit your finger right in that little curved end, and you're gonna spin your wheel and just lightly drag this along, and that's gonna close up all those little pits. It's almost like you're burnishing the clay with the little wooden tool here. And you should all have those in the kits. Let me go back and do that a little bit more. Okay. And that's that. And when it's bone dry, you can, you know, clean it up even more too. So best thing to do, especially if it's a little damp, like I said, the bottom half of this is a little more wet than the rim because it wasn't quite ready, but all those little crumbly bits, they're best to just let it dry out, and then you can, sometimes I'll just take a dry paintbrush and just brush them off. And then if you have any of those little pitted things from the tool, you can also just take your finger and just rub them and they disappear. But that's that. There it is. Looks cute. And then don't forget to sign it. Always sign your pieces, especially you're going to return them to the studio, and I'm going to fire them, bisque fire them, and get them back to you so that you can glaze, but we need to know whose is whose, so don't forget to sign your pieces. All right, you guys. It was fun, and I'm gonna go play outside. Have a good one.